KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
It was a hate-filled delivery they didn't ask for. San Antonio police investigating after people living on the north side say they found anti-Semitic flyers left in their driveways overnight.
The leader of a local Jewish community organization says this is just the latest in a series of incidents, and they believe there's a possible reason why this is happening now.
Our Tiffany Huerta spoke to a woman who found one of those flyers and is shocked by the message.
We're a community of friendship and love and support for each other, and we're not going to stand for this.
While on her morning walk, Catherine S. says she found sandwich bags left on the driveways of homes in her Northside neighborhood.
I picked one up and opened it, and inside I found these disgusting anti-Semitic flyers full of propaganda and disgusting things about Jewish people.
Catherine says she was surprised and saddened by these flyers.
We love our Jewish community.
If it's the same group, or the same individuals, they demonstrated near the Jewish Community Center in Austin.
As we interviewed the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of San Antonio, a group held a protest outside their facility.
I think people are feeling very polarized and feeling very threatened, and Jews, unfortunately, are the recipients of much of that angst.
Nami says there's another reason this could be happening.
November 9th is the night of Kristallnacht, which was the first event of World War II that kicked off the events of World War II. So sometimes leading up to that evening, there's a lot more rhetoric, there's a lot more issues going on.
The Jewish Federation of San Antonio says they are working with federal and local law enforcement about these incidents. They are asking residents to stay alert.
We want to live in the community calmly, peacefully with our neighbors.
Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
City Councilman Clayton Perry releasing a statement on social media saying today in part, quote, San Antonio is a compassionate and multicultural community that is welcoming of all faiths and peoples. However, we have zero tolerance for radical individuals seeking to sow hate and incite violence, end quote.
The latest on the investigation into that deadly drag race event in Kerrville on Saturday. Police answering our questions today about the nature of their investigation. They confirmed that there is no criminal component to their investigation at this time. Yesterday, Kerrville police sent an update identifying Michael Gonzalez as the driver of that 1990 Ford Mustang that crashed into the crowd, explaining the cause of the crash was a loss of rear traction. Kerrville police say there are no charges pending. They are now focused on identifying and releasing the names of the 2 children killed and updating the condition of those hospitalized.
San Antonio police searching for a suspect in a late-night stabbing in the Westside convenience store. Officers say this happened near the corner of Goodwin Avenue and South Brazos Street a little before 11:30 last night. They tell us the victim and the suspect got into some sort of altercation. Then the victim was stabbed in the back. That suspect took off. The victim went home but was then taken to University Hospital for treatment.
San Antonio police asking for your help in trying to figure out who these 2 men are who allegedly robbed a gas station at gunpoint. It happened on October 17th, just before 5:30 in the morning. It was at a Circle K in the 6400 block of De Zavala Road. Police say the 2 men walked into that store. They pointed a gun at the cashier while they took money from the register. If you have any information, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 210-224-7867.
Now to District 118, Democrat Frank Ramirez and Republican John Lujan are not only locked in a tight race, they're on a tight deadline vying to represent South and Northeast Bexar County. These are the last few days of early voting before it ends Friday ahead of next Tuesday's runoff election. Jesse DeGollado says it's been a scramble to get ready given the election's shorter than usual window.
Bexar County's Precinct 1 satellite office is one of only 3 early voting sites actually in District 118. The only other place to vote in the runoff between Republican John Lujan or Democrat Frank Ramirez is the Bexar County Elections Office outside the district. But why not 5 early voting sites like there were in the September primary?
we had 4 of those sites up and ready to go.
After the governor's short notice a week ago, the runoff would coincide with the November 2nd election.
So he could have called it after the canvass. He had 11 days after that September 28th election.
Instead of postponing the runoff election between Luján and Ramirez, Callinan's staff had only 3 days to get ready on top of an election deciding constitutional amendments and other races.
But it didn't happen. And I understand there was a lot going on. There was the 3rd special session up there.
The District 118 Democratic candidate, Frank Ramirez, says he believes the confusion it caused among voters was intentional.
Of course, this is a voter suppression tactic that we're seeing displayed in real time.
Yet Callinan says the turnout actually has already exceeded what it was in the early vote last month, and the last 2 days are usually the busiest. The race for District 118 state representative isn't just about filling a vacant seat. Ramirez says much more is at stake in this election.
They want to utilize this seat, this election, as a stepping stone to the rest of South Texas.
Jesse Degollado, KSAT 12 News.
And we tried several times today to reach Republican District 118 candidate John Lujan. However, we had not heard from him as of news time. Early voting, meanwhile, is underway right now, not just for that special election. There was also the state constitutional amendment election, along with several local races, including a number of school bonds on the ballot. We have polling locations and sample ballots right now on our website at KSAT.com. Early voting runs through this Friday. Then Election Day is next Tuesday, November 2nd.
If you're behind on your CPS Energy or SAWS bills, there may be more help coming. City staff proposing using $30 million in federal funds to help San Antonio residents with their utility bills. Depending on your income level, you could get your balance from between March 1st, 2020 and September 30th of this year either totally waived or credited up to $700 for SAWS or $1,000 for CPS Energy. To get the money, though, you need to meet 3 requirements. Be a San Antonio resident, show proof of hardship from COVID, such as your pay stubs, and enroll in either an affordability program or a payment plan with the utility.
That's a wonderful idea. It'll be a help with a lot of people. It'll be helping a lot of people.
San Antonio City Council expected to consider this plan at its November 18th meeting.
Steve, watching some delays on the north side. This is 281 at Loop 410, very close to San Antonio International Airport. Some slow traffic moving, as we often see during this time of evening. So let's take a look at that travel time there. 11 minutes heading westbound on 410 from 281 to I-10 there. Only 4 minutes the other direction. Again, that's fairly common. Also fairly common delays on 1604 westbound, 20 minutes between I-10 and Bandera Road right now. So pack your patience if you're heading out there on the northwest side. Also seeing some delays here on the west side. We had an earlier issue on Loop 410 approaching Ray Ellis and still have some slowdowns there. Also some slowdowns on Highway 90 westbound at Loop 1604. So if you're heading out of town, look out for that this evening. We'll keep an eye on things and we'll have an update on some construction coming up in the next half hour, guys.
All right, thanks, Samuel. Look outside from Sky 12, just kind of a... Can you see humidity? Because I feel as though this is a pretty good view of it.
It can help contribute to some haze in the sky. It can. But overall, it's just the muggy, almost spring-like weather that we've been having for the past few days. We topped out at 87 degrees today. And of course, the high humidity around town. Temperatures, though, will be taking a dip. Winds will be picking up. We've got some big changes on the way, and you're going to notice them first thing tomorrow morning. Right now we're at 82 degrees. Dew point is 71, so obviously that stickiness in the air. Let's take a look at the forecast the rest of this evening. Temperatures falling through the 80s and then the 70s, and rain chances and even storms likely after midnight tonight. So let's talk about the big picture here. We're watching a cold front off to the northwest of us. This is moving into West Texas right now. That cold front will hit us in the pre-dawn hours tomorrow. So let's time out the storms with that front. 10, 11 o'clock tonight, way to the northwest of us out of our area. By about 2, 3 a.m., they should drop into the hill country. That broken line of storms sweeping into San Antonio most likely sometime between about 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. Some of these storms could become severe. Primary threat being straight line wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. Then by sunrise, the storms east of San Antonio. So that's where we could have the issues. Gonzales, Cuero, Goliad, even Falls City, Hallettsville. That would be closer to sunrise. But in San Antonio, by sunup, we've got a clear sky. The wind, however, is going to pick up big time behind that front. So here's another way to look at the timeline. By 4 a.m., 40% chance, 6 a.m., 60% chance, then by 8 a.m., 10% chance of storms. That's for here in town. Tomorrow, 65 in the morning, a high of 77. We're going to get rid of the humidity, and it doesn't come back until next week. It's going to be a windy day tomorrow. More on that and what you can expect for Halloween coming up.
But for now, we just want you to stay home because there are a few things that we're working on for you for the night beat tonight. So we're seeing something in Mexico that we've seen before, a group of migrants making its way across the country. And tonight, their journey is shedding light on a broken asylum and refugee system in Mexico. Also, new developments in a case involving a San Antonio man accused of killing a woman in a hit and run. Now, that trial was supposed to start this month, but it's been delayed. At 10, we're going to talk about the new allegations that he's facing. That's on the night beat, and we have a lot more news right after the break.
Time now for what has become the weekly COVID-19 briefing from city and county leaders, an indication that our numbers continue to trend in the right direction and something expected to help with those declining numbers. The FDA advisory panel signing off on a recommendation for kids to get the COVID vaccine today.
And there's been a lot of talk about local school districts ramping up efforts to get those 5 to 12-year-old kids the vaccinations once it's approved. It'll be interesting to see if the city and county have any plans to help out in that effort, or if they're going to leave it just to the school districts. Let's go live to City Hall right now and Mayor Ron Nirenberg.
Director of Metro Health, Dr. Anita Kurian, and this is our COVID-19 update for the San Antonio community. Halloween is coming up, and we want to remind you, don't be scared, be prepared. As a reminder, Metro Health has provided some guidance to celebrate safely. If you have children who would like to trick or treat, here's some tips to make your outing safer, knowing that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Most important rule, number 1, stay home if you are sick. 2, wear appropriate face coverings. Costume masks are not adequate protection. Number 3, limit the size of your trick-or-treating group to those within your household. Also, bring hand sanitizer and use it frequently. Avoid going into homes and stick to prepackaged treats and avoid shared foods. Lastly, wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds when you return home. That's good for COVID, that's good for flu, and everything else that's moving around this respiratory season. If you're handing out treats this year, here are the 3 things to keep in mind. Safer ways to hand out treats include don't hand out candy if you or someone in your household is sick. Number 2, participate in distance trick-or-treating by not requiring trick-or-treaters to come to your door. And when preparing goodie bags, be sure to wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds before and after. Again, thanks to Metro Health for these guidelines for celebrating Halloween safely. You can get more at covid19.sanantonio.gov/Halloween. Now on to our case count for today. We're reporting 155 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Our 7-day moving average has also gone down to 223. Sadly, there are still people dying from COVID-19 in our community, and we are reporting 2 new deaths this evening. Please keep them and their loved ones in your prayers this evening. We have lost far too many of our neighbors and loved ones to this virus. Over in our hospitals, the numbers are continuing to trend well. There are 279 patients in area hospitals. In the last 24 hours, there are 25 new admissions. 109 people are in the ICU and 53 on ventilators with COVID-19. Again, please note, 84% of patients in the area hospitals are unvaccinated. This remains a pandemic of the unvaccinated. 16 patients are on children. Let me just quickly go over the progress and warning indicators before I hand it over to the judge. Some more improvements in our fight against COVID-19 are being reported on our positivity rate, which has dropped to 1.9%. Cases are on a downward trajectory, and we are seeing continued gradual improvements again in our hospitals. So with that, we have steady improvements. Keep up the great work. Thank you for helping us get a grip on this, especially as we move into the holiday season. And we know that COVID-19 loves company, so please keep those protocols in mind. Judge Wolf.
Well, everything is headed in the right direction. It's hard to believe that it's been 2 years now since we've gone through this COVID epidemic. And if you saw the summer rise and surge in 2020, the winter surge 2021, and now the Delta one that we're now trailing toward the end, the difference between the first two surges and where the third one we have is just that we didn't have the vaccines ready for the others. Now we do. And this should have never happened. And we will continue to get people sick. We will continue to have cases as long as people out there refuse to get vaccinated. It's been a crisis of the unvaccinated, and it concerns me while we're in really the right place that people out there still not getting vaccinated and still spreading it. We did see the FDA panel today authorize vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds, and I assume that will be coming out. Anita will be able to tell you a little bit more about that. But we're heading in the right direction. But if you got a friend out there, you got a relative, I've heard too many stories where wives have tried to convince husbands to get it, and they don't get it, and they end up getting COVID, and they end up dying. Too many stories like that. So do everything you can to convince your friends and relatives to get the vaccine.
Thank you, Judge. And you can do that.
The mayor actually thanking people for all their efforts so far to bring this trend downward. We're in a downward trajectory, his words. 1.9%, the latest positivity rate in San Antonio. So we are under 2%.
I know.
It's an accomplishment.
It makes you smile, right?
It does,
it's something,
absolutely.
That we're continuing to see drop, which is excellent news. Still 2 new deaths reported today, 279 people in the hospital. But those numbers, like you mentioned, Steve, continuing to go down. And the Judge Wolf basically there saying this is a crisis of the unvaccinated. Yep. COVID-19 is not going away. Still plenty of opportunities to get that vaccine and to get your booster if you're in need.
And of course, we'll have more on this story and what Metro Health has to say coming up on the Night Beat tonight at 10. All right, let's switch over to the weather situation because there's a lot of questioning about timing, Adam. Like, when are we going to start feeling this cold front, or when are we going to start seeing its effects?
You know, by about sunrise tomorrow morning, you'll start noticing the changes, and especially by the noon hour tomorrow, you'll be feeling the changes. It's not going to be a huge temperature drop, but it will be a big drop in humidity, and primarily winds will be the headline. Morning temperatures will be going from the low 70s and upper 60s, which is what we had the past couple of days, down into the lower 50s and upper 40s. So we're talking about 48 degrees for morning temperature by Thursday, Friday this week. Okay, let's get right to it. Talk about the timing of the rain chances, the showers, the storms that are headed our way. We're expecting a broken line to develop off to the west, move through the hill country about 2-3 a.m. Here in San Antonio, our time frame, I think, is roughly about 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. So notice that maximum rain chance there and storm chance at 6 a.m., 6 a.m. We have it up to 60%. It's going to be a quick moving line, and we'll be on the tail end of it, but doesn't matter. We could have a few severe thunderstorms pop up along and north of Highway 90, with the primary threat being straight line wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. That's in the pre-dawn hours tomorrow. Then you'll notice the big changes behind the front, and we'll have a lot of sunshine thereafter. Temperatures now in the 80s for most of us, low to mid 80s. Still some 90s out to the west. Del Rio 95. Actually, Del Rio had a record high today of 96 degrees. Tomorrow we'll start the day in the mid 60s, rise to about 77 for the afternoon high. Sunny all day long, low humidity, but very windy. We're talking a steady northwesterly wind at 20 to 30, gusting at times to about 35 miles per hour. Thursday, we do it all over again, but cooler in the morning at 50, still windy. Humidity doesn't come back until next week. Upper 40s for some mornings late this week, and Halloween very agreeable for any type of costume.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
All right. The Lakers are in town, and this is a team that just 2 years ago won the NBA championship. They've been struggling to start this year, though, Greg.
And it looks like they're going to continue to do that because LeBron James, we're being told, will not play tonight. His status went from probable to questionable. Did not participate in a secret shoot-around earlier today, and now we're being told by others he is out. It is not official, but we're being told he will not play tonight. When we come back, more about tonight's showdown with the Lakers, what is motivating Lonnie Walker IV, and Jeff Trader's stock is on the rise. Will he stay at UTSA when we come back? Good evening, everyone, and welcome live to the AT&T Center, where tonight our San Antonio Spurs play host to their Western Conference rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. You know the Spurs are young enough and they're hungry enough to pull off the upset tonight, especially since Lonnie Walker IV, who was passed over by the Spurs for his rookie contract extension this year. The same thing that happened to Jakob Poeltl turned out well for the Austrian, who signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with the Spurs as a restricted free agent. For Walker, it only serves as a motivation to get better.
I think I'm more excited, more hungry. I'm starving more than ever. Trying to just stay active offensively and defensively and do what Pop wants me to do. But I ain't worried about the contract. I think, God willingly, I got good karma, I got good energy around me. Things will play out the way it's supposed to be. I sacrificed a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of things this off season to really be ready to play in this season coming up. So I'm highly confident. I think I'm only going to continue to get better along with my rhythm and confidence, and I'm just ready.
I mean, he's good. I mean, it's been the same every day, just going in, great attitude, and I mean, he also had a great game last game, and we need him all year, so I think he's ready to go, and he's motivated.
All right, here is the matchup tonight. In case you didn't hear us earlier, looks like LeBron James will not play tonight with an ankle injury. His status went from probable to questionable to out. Now, that is not official from the Lakers just yet, just what we're being told. Highlights tonight for you on the Night Beat.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
The Dallas Cowboys are ready to continue their incredible season when they face the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football with one of the best records in the NFL, standing at 5-1 and on a 5-game win streak. But all that depends on Dak Prescott and whether or not he is able to recover from another injury. This time a right calf strain he picked up in overtime against the Patriots when he threw the game-winning touchdown to CeeDee Lamb in the 35-29 victory in New England. When the Cowboys reported for a light workout Monday, Prescott was out of that walking boot he was wearing after the game. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was asked on his weekly radio show if Dak's calf injury worries him as much as his shoulder injury in camp.
Much less. Not even in the same, not even in my thought process of things to worry about. Again, comparing the two, I wouldn't compare the two. One is much less sensitive to me. I'm talking the calves and the shoulder.
All right, we'll know tomorrow when the Cowboys return for their first workout before they face the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. The UTSA Roadrunners bye week could be a very profitable week for head coach Jeff Traylor after leading his team to an unprecedented 8-0 start. As a result, his name has come up in talks about who will become the new head coach of Texas Tech after the Red Raiders fired Matt Wells on Monday. He, along with Sonny Dykes of SMU, are the two most prominent names being mentioned. And today, Coach Traylor was named to the Bear Bryant Coach of the Year watch list. If the Roadrunners want to keep him as they move to the American Athletic Conference, they are going to have to pay him much more. And if you're UTSA, these are good problems to have. Don't forget to join us tonight on the Night Beat. If the status changes for LeBron James, we'll let you know on Twitter or on KSAT.com. Live from the AT&T Center, Greg Simmons, KSAT 12 Sports.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
Yes.
Our KSAT Q&A is up next. Younger children now a step closer to being able to receive the COVID-19 vaccine after an FDA advisory panel recommended the Pfizer shot today for kids 5 to 11. Joining us in today's KSAT Q&A, we got pediatric infectious disease specialist Dr. Tess Martin from UT Health San Antonio to talk about what this means, what you're seeing when it comes to COVID in kids. So let's start with that recommendation. What should that signal to parents today who want to get their kids vaccinated?
So I think this is the first step in potentially getting as many members of your household vaccinated as possible. The next step is it goes from the FDA to the CDC to make kind of what the final recommendation is going to be as far as the schedule and the rollout. But I think that this was a unanimous decision with the FDA today, and I think that we can anticipate that vaccine is going to be ready to give to kids even as early as next week.
Is there anything in the timing of this study, what was found in the study? I mean, do you have any reservations about recommending this to children that are between the ages of 5 and 11?
I don't. First of all, the vaccine was found to be very effective as far as how well it provides a layer of protective antibodies to children. It's actually why the dose is lower, is because they responded so well to that lower dose that their antibody levels were the same as adults. And then in the trial, as they followed the children, all of the infections that occurred in both the vaccine group and in the placebo group were actually after July. So that was during the Delta time. They didn't have information on specifically whether those breakthrough infections were Delta variant, but overall, the level of protection was about 91%, which is pretty good.
Let's talk about the issue of myocarditis. We know that we saw some cases in adolescents and teens who got the vaccine. So is that something, for parents who still have that on their minds, is that something they should be concerned about when it comes to younger kids getting the vaccine?
So, I think we did see that. It's luckily a very, very rare side effect. So the myocarditis is a heart inflammation, and that occurred in about 1 in every 15,000 or so teenage boys. That was sort of the highest risk, was in the teenage boys. And so, the current trial for the younger children, that's such a rare side effect that they didn't find any of those cases, but they didn't have, more than 15,000 children enrolled. So I think that, as we roll out this vaccine, certainly, the CDC and of course independent, individual doctors are all going to be, on the lookout for any signs of heart inflammation. But based on the trial data and based on the rarity of that side effect in the teenagers, I don't have any reservations recommending it. I think that the benefits actually outweigh the risk.
When we talk about myocarditis too, and you talk about heart inflammation, obviously it's a concern. Is it something that stays though, or does the condition improve over time?
Right. So all of the cases of myocarditis or pericarditis that were associated with the vaccine were cases that resolved. So, lots of things actually cause myocarditis. So viral infections cause myocarditis. And in fact, COVID itself causes myocarditis. There was a study in college athletes, and about 2% of them actually developed myocarditis when they got COVID. That's 1 in 50. So but it tends to be something that self-resolves, meaning that it flares up usually within a week or two of getting that second dose of the vaccine, and then it fades away over the next couple of weeks. Many of the kids did require hospitalization. I mean, it's not, it's certainly something serious and that we would want to keep an eye out, but it is very rare.
Can you talk about what you've been seeing in kids who have come down with COVID-19, especially, at the beginning of the school year, there was so much stress and anxiety for parents with the surge of the Delta variant. Speaking from personal experience, breathing a sigh of relief now with the numbers being lower. But what did you see in especially younger children who came down with COVID over the last couple of months?
Sure. So it's true that most kids, 99% of kids are going to have like a mild respiratory illness or a flu-like illness that comes and goes and that doesn't result in hospitalization. But we certainly did see kids who, I saw kids who had strokes. I saw kids who had pulmonary emboli, which is a big clot in the lungs. I saw kids who had, heart inflammation, and I've seen some kids in my clinic who are these sort of long haulers who have, chronic fatigue or joint pains or chronic muscle aches and brain fog and things like that. So, we certainly have seen those in kids.
Would you call today's approval a game changer?
As much as I want to say, I think that really the big game changer was actually just getting a vaccine, period, for adults. I mean, adults are really the ones who bear the brunt of this infection. But I think that having this vaccine available for children really gives families sort of another tool in their toolbox to help them to keep this virus out of their household, to protect the vulnerable people in their family, whether it's a grandma or somebody who's got, diabetes or obesity or cancer. It's something that can help to protect the teachers at school, to keep everybody working and, keep everybody in childcare. And so I do think that it sort of adds yet another layer of help, of the things that all the little things that we can do to get over this virus.
With where we are now and the potential for this vaccine to be ready in a matter of days for kids 5 to 11, what's your main message to parents who are watching this?
So my main message is that, this vaccine has shown itself to be quite safe, and it's very effective at preventing serious COVID, and it's pretty effective at preventing getting COVID at all. And so getting your kids protected will, especially as we're coming on winter virus season, we're getting over a surge, and let's just not have another surge. So I think getting as many people immune to this virus is the way that we're going to get through it. And it looks good for kids, it looks safe for kids, and I think it's a great thing to be able to offer them.
Encouraging words from Dr. Tess Barton, an infectious disease specialist, pediatric infectious disease specialist at UT Health San Antonio. Always appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. Talking about some construction this evening, weather permitting, of course. First, we'll start here on the northeast side. This is I-35 and FM 3009. The turnarounds will be closed here. Also down at Evans Road, that kicks off at 9 p.m. They're doing some drilling work in this area as part of an ongoing project. Already, of course, seeing some delays in that area. On the north side of San Antonio, there'll be some alternating lane closures between 281 and Stone Oak Parkway from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Again, weather permitting as work continues there. Let's take a look at this travel time in along 1604, still in the red, 27 minutes. All the way from 281 to Bandera Road. Some delays on both sides of I-10, so look out for that too. Going back to the northeast side, this is at traffic flow 35 at Evans. I think people have noticed that things are a lot busier now than they used to be over the past few months. Here's a look at I-10 in Frio. Traffic coming into downtown also busy. And finally, watching this situation here, I-10 in Roland, not really impacting traffic too much, less people on the road, or fewer people on the roads over here, but you can see this crash still closing at least one lane heading westbound on I-10, guys.
Thank you, Samuel. Look outside with live cam. Got some clouds out there, plenty of humidity, but that's going to change. And we got some things we need to really keep in mind with this cold front, Adam.
And I'm ready for this change.
A lot of people are. It's going to feel fall-like again starting tomorrow. Temperatures will take a bit of a dive. Humidity is going to be swept away for a prolonged period. And the wind's going to pick up. So secure your outdoor Halloween decorations if they may be sensitive to wind, because it's going to get very gusty. This evening, just more of the same. Muggy out there, some low clouds, 80 degrees at 8 o'clock, mid-70s at midnight. Maybe a stray sprinkle early, but the storms are likely in the pre-dawn hours tomorrow. We'll time that out for you, talk about the chance of severe storms, and then transition to the big changes that are headed our way, including the winds and cooler temperatures in just a bit.
Rubies don't just take you home to Kansas, they also hold proof of ancient life. Canadian scientists say a 2.5 billion-year-old ruby they found in Greenland contains graphite. That mineral is made of pure carbon, which is the core component of organic life.
But you know, Myra, not all carbon is indicative of life. But researchers say this particular carbon they found in the ruby appears to contain isotopes indicative of atoms that were once part of living organisms. Back when the gem was originally formed, life on Earth was limited to tiny microorganisms and algae. Scientists believe bacteria responsible for leaving the carbon behind was incorporated into the ruby.
Ah, so I see.
That story's a real gem.
You know you can't trust atoms?
Well, yeah.
They make up everything.
That's ATOMS.
Yeah, get it?
Yeah,
it's science.
ATOMSs.
Science humor.
It's awesome.
You're welcome,
Yeah,
Steve.
I don't know if that was better than a spring.
That's above Steve's humor level there.
Was it?
I understand. I
Was it?
understand. Love it. Love it. Love all of it.
I think my definition of humor
This is off
different
to
than
a
yours.
good start. I like
Yeah,
this.
let's keep this going, guys.
Science humor. Oh, severe storms possible late tonight, early tomorrow morning for a very brief window of time. And then very windy as we get into tomorrow. Actually, the next several days, you'll notice the gusty winds and a cooler stretch of weather is on the way with more fall-like conditions in place. So let's get to our overall weather pattern. The Clouds we have streaming overhead in the mid and upper levels. Those are the remnants of what was Hurricane Rick in the Pacific and then moved into Mexico. We're just getting some clouds left over and a few sprinkles closer to the Gulf Coast. Already some severe weather. We're talking Oklahoma up into Kansas. That red box indicates the tornado watch box far to the north of us. Here's the big picture. Wound up system right now. It's still getting wound up just east of Denver. Cold front goes down into West Texas. That cold front is heading our way, and that's going to be here early tomorrow morning. So let's take a look at our futurecast. I like the timing of this model in particular. 10, 11 o'clock this evening and tonight. All the activity far to the northwest of us, closer to San Angelo and then moving towards Sonora. Thereafter, so after midnight, starting to move into the Edwards Plateau and parts of the hill country, midnight to 2 a.m. We will be right on the tail end of this broken line of thunderstorms and active severe weather, especially to the north. We'll be right on the edge of the severe weather potential nonetheless. Along and north of Highway 90, we could have some severe storms with the primary threat being localized wind gusts of about 60 miles per hour. This is 4 a.m. and that's when it gets a little bit closer to Bexar County. And I think our window of storm opportunity or a time frame in San Antonio in the I-35 corridor is roughly 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. This shows 5 a.m. moving in, some heavy rainfall. Those of you that need the rain the most, we're talking Eagle Pass, Carrizo Springs, Crystal City, Cotulla. Probably not going to get much, if anything. Most of it's going to be along and north of Highway 90. Then at sunrise, it's east of town. So Hallettsville, Moulton, Gonzales, Cuero, Falls City, Karn City, closer to sunrise is when you could have some of that active and potentially even severe weather. But during the day tomorrow, we've got nothing but sunshine. So in the pre-dawn hours and near sunrise, we have that storm threat, then sunny, and it's going to be sunny for several days in a row, but very gusty as well. The winds behind the cold front really picking up. We're expecting steady winds out of the northwest at about 20 to 30 miles per hour with some wind gusts tomorrow on the order of about 35. Wouldn't shock me if we have some wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour the next couple of days. And again, those are non-thunderstorm related gusts. It's going to be a sunny day, but windy. 82 right now, dew point is 71. Of course, that sticky air is in place. We've had that flow off the Gulf of Mexico, making it muggy outside. That changes, though. We get rid of the humidity, or as I always like to say, we sweep it away, push it out of here, and it's not going to come back until about next week and maybe just for a brief day or two. So you're not even going to think of humidity or mugginess at all tomorrow through Halloween. 92 Cotulla, 95 Del Rio. Del Rio had a record high today of 96, by the way. But temperatures tomorrow very different. We'll be in the 60s at sunrise and then only making it into the upper 70s, maybe about 80 degrees in some spots with low humidity and those gusty winds. Nothing but sunshine the rest of this week, all the way through Halloween, this upcoming weekend. Low humidity. As for temperatures, they're going to take a bit of a dive, especially morning temperatures, upper 40s. By Friday morning and Saturday morning. Halloween, it's going to be great. Good for the kids. Pretty much any costume is going to be comfortable with the lack of humidity and comfortable temperatures.
That's good to see.
Yes.
No feigning by the little Chewbacca's.
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
It's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. In case you missed it, coming up next.
Here's today's In Case You Missed It.
And a good morning to you. It is Tuesday, October 26th.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you had a good Monday. It was nice and hot, but hopefully it was still okay out there. We're very excited.
Frightening moments for a family and their pets after their house caught fire. It happened around 10 o'clock last night on the west side at Southwest 39th Street near Highway 90. Firefighters say a power strip shorted and sparked a fire in their living room. Crews were able to contain the flames quickly. And
we've got an update now on a double fatal crash we told you about yesterday. The driver who caused that crash and died of his injuries identified as 28-year-old Jeremy Alexander Sanchez. San Antonio police say he was speeding on Grissom Road Sunday night when he crashed into a pickup truck. Sanchez's passenger, 24-year-old Christopher Taylor, also died.
A man now facing charges after police say that he ran over a bicyclist yesterday morning and did not stop to help. 25-year-old Christian Gomez now charged with failure to stop and render aid. He turned himself in after he allegedly drove off from the scene on Fran Street yesterday morning.
Arrest records state Gomez wasn't aware he hit someone with his dump truck. He said he heard a noise, noticed he was dragging a bike, but didn't see anyone around.
We're in the underground to talk about the afterlife that will flow down the river on Friday. You guys, this is your first look, a sneak peek at what you'll be able to see Friday during the Day of the Dead River Parade. And this is something that comes all the way from Mexico. The River Parade will be live on Friday at 8 p.m. It'll be hosted by Steve Spreester and, of course, myself. We'll see you there.
All right, if you're heading to the AT&T Center, see the Spurs take on the Lakers this evening. Slow traffic, as you might expect, about half an hour before tip-off there, but I-35 and I-10 in that area look fine. We do have some delays on I-10 approaching downtown. It'll take you 15 minutes from 1604 to downtown. This is how it looks at Frio. And let's get one more view. This is I-35 at Evans Adams. Slow traffic ahead of some construction this evening.
Yeah, we could have some slow traffic tomorrow morning with leftover wet roadways and even some active rain in the pre-dawn hours. Some severe storms are possible, especially along and north of Highway 90 overnight tonight and especially closer to sunrise tomorrow. But then fall like the rest of this week. Sunny, windy tomorrow, low humidity, temperatures in the 70s. Basically every afternoon through Friday, and mornings dropping down into the upper 40s to low 50s.
All right, thanks, Adam. We got a new episode of KSAT Explains coming your way at 7.
See you on the Night Beat at 10.